So today I'm giving my testimony about since I came to the church and like in the very beginning. So I actually forgot about this, but I forgot who I was talking to. But actually, before I actually started coming to the church in 2017, I came to the church in 2016 with another guy who was my boyfriend at that time. And at that time, I remember Pastor Steve was preaching about, so basically a little backstory. I used to go to a lot of baseball games with my ex-boyfriend, and that was like our thing. And so that night, Pastor Steve was preaching, and he said, how can people go to baseball games and stay there all night going extra innings, but then they say church is too long and they can't come to church? I was like, oh my gosh, like he's talking to me, like what the heck? And then, so after that day, I actually thought about coming to the church, but I had a fear of driving, so I couldn't like drive here, so I thought I needed my ex-boyfriend. But anyways, I told him, my ex, I was like, hey, maybe I should stop getting tattoos and maybe we should like go to church. And he was like, you would change your whole life just for God? And the first thought, I didn't say it out loud to him, but I was like, ugh, devil, like, the heck? But I ended up listening to him instead of coming to church anyway. But that whole relationship, I was with him for, I think, 4.5 years, or almost something like that, straight out of high school. That relationship was terrible. It just, it starts off really great, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love. I'm 17 years old. Like, you don't know nothing when you're 17. I thought I did. I even ran away from my parents. Anyways, fast forward, so that was in May 2016, and then I came back to the church, I want to say it was end of June 2017, but then I didn't consider myself a member of this church until I started coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I would only come, for those who don't know, I used to work with Elder Jeremiah, so he kind of like convinced me and was like, well, since we live in Oakland and I lived in, since we worked in Oakland, I lived in Alameda, he said, how about I pick you up and I take you to church, and then I'll pay for your Uber ride home. So he did that for a while, so I'm really grateful for that. Then later, Lisa and this other girl that used to go to the church took turns picking me up and dropping me off. But anyway, so I don't think I started fully coming all 3 days to the church until either beginning of August 2017 or middle of August. But basically when I made that commitment, like, oh, I'm gonna come all 3 days, like that's when I was like, okay, I'm actually a member of this church now. Like I didn't consider myself a member prior to that. Also, Sundays were my tattoo days, so all my tattoo appointments were scheduled. And one time I felt so convicted. Elder Jeremiah was like, hey, so you gonna come tomorrow, like on a Sunday? And I was like, no. And he's like, do you have any plans? I was like, no, I just can't come. But I had literally a tattoo appointment, and I wasn't gonna cancel that. So instead of coming on Sunday, I went and got my snake on my arm filled in right here. So it's kind of funny, that's the last part I got filled in before I was like, all right, I can't do that no more. Anyway, shortly after I committed, I come to the church because I was like, my life just sucks. I don't know. There's got to be something out there. I was never a Christian, Catholic. I just didn't have any religion. I grew up only thinking or only told just to believe in God, and that was it. Like, I'd ask my dad, and he'd be like, it doesn't matter, just believe in God. And I'm like, so what does that mean? Just believe in God. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? Like, that don't mean nothing. Like, what? So I used to pray those little kid prayers when I was young. I was like, God, please keep my family safe. And then I didn't know, that little Catholic thing, so I didn't know what that meant. So when I was little, I just said, I love you, God. And then I'd blow him a kiss. That was my only knowledge of God. But anyways, so I committed. And then next thing you know it, I have this dream and, AP Christian's in my dream and HD Junior. And it was back before renovations where it was like a red room and then they used to work in the little studio area. And like in the dream, I'm just like by myself, like in the corner. And then APC and HD Junior's like making music. And then APC says, I like roses. And my real name is Rosalie, which no one in here knew except for like Elder Jeremiah. And he goes, Rosalie is the name of my future wife. I was like, excuse me, I don't even like you. Like, what? So, so I tell Pastor Eugene, and then she's like, this is her response. I think it's time to lose weight. I was like, no, that means yes. I was like, oh gosh, he's my husband. Oh no. So, yeah, it's been a journey with him. Like, I didn't like him. He didn't like me. I was like 40 pounds heavier. I always said, I'll never date a Mexican with long hair. And it was this Mexican dude with a ponytail. And I was like, God, what the heck? Like, And he also never dated an Asian girl. So for those who don't know, I'm Filipino. So it was both kind of, we're just like, it's not really my thing. Like, he's not my type. I'm not his type. Like, but then we kind of did it out of obedience. And then I remember the day we got married, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I felt like I got tricked. Like, we signed the papers and we were with HD Marissa and it was either Elder Janina or, yeah. So they were the witnesses and then we had dinner. Did you come to the dinner? Yeah, so then it was dinner with just HD Marissa and HD Junior. And then he was like, yeah, so we're gonna split the bill. And I was like, excuse me? Like, didn't we just get married? Like, what are we splitting something for? Like, you need to pay the bill. So since that day, I was like already like pissed off. I was like, man, like, how can I marry a dude that make me split the bill? Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, I'm your wife, dude. See that paper? Like, it just didn't feel, I was like, this is just not right. But also it was like wrong mentality. But anyways, so we move in and things just got better. There have been so many fights and so many struggles. Like, so one I could start with is, see, this is how dumb it is because I don't even remember what we fought about, but I remember the fight. So he was like talking to me and I was blow drying my hair. And then he was like trying to talk to me and I just turned the blow dryer up higher so I couldn't hear him. So I'm just like, and then he's trying to talk to me. And I think he's probably like, I'm trying to talk to you. And then I was literally giving him the silent treatment. He grabs the hair dryer, throws it across the room and it breaks. Then he picks me up off the chair and throws me on the bed. And that's all I can remember from that fight. Like he said, and this is funny because now he sleeps with earplugs, but it's great. Sleeping with earplugs and an eye mask is wonderful. But before he did that, he used to sleep with a fan on to get white noise. And I was cold. And I'm like, dude, I'm cold. Why you have this fan on? And he's like, I like the noise. Because we had roommates with like random people and they were hecka loud. And I was like, I'm cold. And he's like, I don't care. And I was like, I'm cold. So he got upset. He literally picked up the fan and like threw it. The whole thing broke. And then either that same day he bought earplugs or the next day. But earplugs are wonderful. There was one time we were in the kitchen. He made me so mad. I really don't know why. I just hated him. And I was like cooking and I had raw chicken and I so badly wanted to throw it at him, but so I had a whole raw chicken breast in my hand and I was all like, and I didn't know what to do, so I just threw it in the sink. Like, it's just ridiculous. And then another one, never ever forget this. It was Denise's baby shower. I think this was like the biggest fight we've ever had. So it was a Saturday and I worked at the apartment complex in Hayward. And so I was like gonna be late for work and we were arguing for whatever, I remember I was eating avocado toast, and I was in my little business suit with my slacks and my little jacket, looking all professional. And then I was like, I gotta go. Like, I can't do this. Like, I gotta go to work. I'm about to be late. He's like, no, we're gonna talk about this right now. And I was like, I don't wanna talk right now. I gotta go to work or else I'm gonna get fired. And then he's like, nope, nope. So I grab my avocado toast and I splatter it all over the table. There's like avocado everywhere. And then, so at the other place we used to live at, the sliding door for the backyard, it didn't have a screen. So I was like going like this to him. And then when he like wasn't looking, I bolted to the door, threw it open, and I had my purse and my water bottle, and I literally tried to hop over the fence, and he like grabbed me and pulled me back down. And then, so then we get back in the house, and he's like, you're not leaving till we talk about this. And I was like, I'm leaving. And then, so we're like this. And then, for those who don't know, I used to be very violent. Even like, actually before the church, I was more violent, and I remember I punched my ex in the nose in front of the house in public, because I was like, he just like made me so mad, and I like almost, like I was trying to like knock him out. But so APC actually, his wasn't as bad. But so he wouldn't let me leave. So I started squaring up, which means like I'm getting ready to fight him. So we're literally in the kitchen, and I'm like this, trying to like, and I'm literally just like swinging at him, like we're literally swinging at each other. He's like grabbing my head, trying to like push me back. like what you gonna do? Like you look stupid right now. So then I grabbed my water bottle. It was like a 32-ounce water bottle, and I start beating him with it. He still wouldn't let go, like, because his arm was there, so I just tried to beat him so he could bring his arm down. And he wouldn't. So back then, I used to have the long little claws for nails. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were like the fake nails, but they were super sharp. So I dug my nails into his arm and literally gashed his whole arm, like. And then he was like, do you see this? Is this what you want to do to your husband? And finally, after that, I was like, oh my gosh, like he was like bleeding, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I did that, oh my gosh, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, what am I gonna tell Pastor Steve? What am I gonna tell Pastor Eugene? I was deacon at that time. I was literally like, okay, I'm gonna get pulled down as deacon. I don't know, like if we're ever gonna recover from this with my husband. I was like, I don't think there's ever gonna be like. There's no going back from this, And there's like a picture from Denise's baby shower. We just looked so miserable. And then you could see like the gashes in his arm in the picture. So it's kind of, evidence. But also there was one time we were fighting, and this is when he had the white Mustang. So he didn't know what to do, which I think he was smart for doing this. He went into his car and he started praying. Like, he didn't let anything I did affect him. He said, all right, are you crazy? I'm going to my car. So guess what I did? Oh, you want to go in your car and pray? Let's see about that. So I go up to his car and I'm like banging on the window. I'm kicking it in and I'm like, open the car, open the car. And he's literally praying with headphones and can't hear nothing. So then I was like, oh, you think I can't get in? I grabbed his spare key, unlocked the car, and literally pulled him out the car. And then I don't know what happened after that. But because he obeyed and like did what he knew what to do in that moment and then prayed, he actually had no scratches on his car. I didn't break his window. Car was perfectly fine. Until my disobedience kicked in. And, it looks fine, like how I am now, like, oh, Lapierre has it all together, ooh. Before, like, man, it was so crazy. So, I don't even remember what year this was, but I think it was 2019 of January, something like that, or 18, I don't know. But we were driving to church one Sunday morning. It was raining, and we were just like, okay, whatever. And literally, so we're driving. This is like in Newark. I don't remember the street, but it was like near this KFC and this Catholic church. And we were driving, and literally a car smacks his car on my side of the car. We spin out. The car is totaled. The other guy, I don't remember if they even had insurance. I was scared, like literally the whole, like, it just spun out. I was just like terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, like, and then we text Pastor Steve and Pastor Eugen, and then like, basically he's like, okay, well, I want you to pray about why did your side of the car got hit? And then I started thinking about all the text messages Pastor sent me. Respect your husband. You can't act like this. You can't punch him. Like, that's not okay. Like basically, I don't know if you knew this, but that's not what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, but they'd always send me the same text messages like, I gotta forgive my dad, and, forgive your husband, and you gotta treat him right, respect him. And I was just like, nope. And then I, walking around a mountain, and then, it's all fun and peachy till you get smacked. And so I was like, okay. I was on my knees, I'm all praying hecka loud, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, God, I'm sorry. Like, I'm gonna respect my husband, I'm sorry. So then it seemed like everything was going good. He got blessed, with the car he has now. And then, so my back did hurt, but then at some point I was like, ooh, this is actually like, I could get away with a lot of stuff with this excuse. So yes, it did hurt at some point, but I dragged it along, and then I made my back hurt by keep saying, oh, Pastor, my back hurts. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, I can't clean. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, my husband has to fold the laundry. I can't do it. My back hurts. Like, he suffered a lot with me. Like, like, he may seem like he's really stern and whatever, but I was really the bad guy. So he's been through a lot with me. But anyways, during that time at the apartment complex, I got promoted to assistant manager there. And we're like, oh, praise God. It was like Easter weekend. We moved. We got our own apartment. We're like, yes, great. We got our own place. Don't got to live with nobody. Like, it's wonderful. And then I moved in. So part of that was I got a free apartment. So everything was free. And I was like, man, we ain't got no bills. I was like, ooh, we just living large, got a free apartment, whatever. His commute was terrible. He spent 2-3 hours on the road every day. It was terrible. He went through a lot. But anyways, then I was like, oh, well, I don't have to work. I could get disability because my back hurts. So I went on disability for maybe 3 months. And then I was like, I can't. Mind you, I'm an assistant manager that has to sit in a chair. They got me a sit and stand desk. And I'm just like, oh, I can't do it. Like, it's just so hard. It's causing pain. It's pinching my nerve. And I'm just like making every excuse in the book not to. I did Instacart. I didn't have to do grocery shopping. I literally didn't do anything. I didn't clean. I paid Nicole to clean. Like, I literally did absolutely nothing. Like, so everyone thinks like, oh yeah, APR, so, no, I wasn't always like this. I was lazy and self-pity, manipulator, Jezebel, trying to control everybody and make people feel bad for me and manipulate them. Like, that's who I really was, And so then it was either an email or a text message from my boss, the regional manager. And she says, Rosalie, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow. And I was like, oh, shoot, what's, I ain't even working right now. What you need to talk to me about for? Like, we ain't got nothing to talk about. I'm not there. And it was literally them firing me, saying you have 3 days to move out. Now, here's a little more backstory. During my time in disobedience, I racked up $20,000 in debt between us two. Because we're married, it's considered his debt. So now we both got 20,000. You know, I wasn't working, so literally it was his debt. So imagine how he's been feeling, you know? And then we have like $121 in our bank account. And I'm like, Pastor, I just got fired, and they said I have 3 days to move out, and we only have $121. It was either 121 or 112, I don't know. And he's like, I want you to think about that. Why don't you pray to God and ask him why this would happen and you literally have no money? And I was like, dang, that's so true. Like, God's not trying to bless me right now. Like, this is so, I'm paying for something. What the heck? And then he says, you're going to live with Elder Sarah in her living room. And I was like, you know, like, what? Like, I mean, I was like, you know what? I had messed up. And I'm just like, I'll take it. You know, that was my opportunity. Me and Elder Sarah were like, okay, like, what's your address? And okay, it's where Nengi used to stay, in the living room. And I was like, okay, that's how it's just gonna be until I could, you know, prove to God that I could be grateful for something. Because basically, I was ungrateful. God literally gave me everything, like, you know, free rent. I literally took 3 minutes to walk to the office to go to work, and APC had to drive 2-3 hours a day, you know, maybe even 4. And I was ungrateful. I didn't appreciate it, and I took advantage of my husband, took advantage of pastors, and tried to make them feel bad for me. And even before that, like before the first car accident, like I worked at Kaiser, and I was thinking about this too, like this week, because I was like, oh, like, dang, like a lot's happened in like 4 years. And I actually started at Kaiser with Elder Jeremiah, and I made really good money. I made like what 36, 38, something like that. Something like that. So I started here, and then went to leasing consultant, boom, $18. And then assistant manager, $20 or 21 or something, I don't know. And then, okay, I'll get back to that. So then he says, okay, I want you guys to look for a 1-bedroom to rent instead of living with Elder Sarah. And I was like, wow, that's like mercy. But then we had to take out another loan because we had no money. So it was more debt. So that was the place we lived in with the Indian dude. Super nice. And I was just like, okay, like, I gotta get this right. Like, I can't go around this mountain again. I can't keep disobeying. Like, where I obeyed in some areas, like, oh, can you do this for worship? Can you do this for church? Oh yeah, sure, yes. Okay, great. But what about home? That's the part I was missing. And so one disobedience is just cancels out all obedience, you know? So I was like, all right, I gotta get this right. Like, this is crazy. Like, I can't keep having bad stuff happen to us. Like, at some point, I gotta get it, you know? And even, oh, I forgot to mention this. So I get like Bible judgment. Like, I know some people get hit with their cars, which we did get hit with the car. I literally get Bible judgment. Like, I was the bleeding lady in the Bible. I went to the doctor, and they were like, oh, blood works perfectly fine. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? And then pastors are like, you know, when your blood is life, so if you're losing blood, you know, you gotta think you're losing life. What's going on over there, you know? And I'm like, dude, like, it was not, even though they kept telling me what the issue was, I refused to receive it. And I'm like, no, like, this is a health issue. They're like, no, like, you gotta think about it. You literally went to the doctor, they said nothing's wrong with you, yet you're bleeding like the woman in the Bible. And then my hair started falling out. Like, I'd go like this, and there'd just be hair, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, my hair is literally falling out. Like, I was like terrified. And then, for those who don't know, I went through tattoo removal treatment, and that was like the most miserable experience of my life. And I was literally like Job with boils all over my skin. Like my arms were like 10 pounds each. APC had to put on gloves and put Vaseline and itching cream and wrap it up with gauze. He had to elevate my arms. I couldn't do anything. I'd just cry, and then like it literally was like boils all over my skin, and I was like, oh, I look like Job, and I'm all like poking it, like like it was like scary. Oh man, man. So finally, I think I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like, I think I've had enough of like these scary judgments and all these things, and I was like, all right, I was lazy and I didn't want to clean, so I told myself, you know what? This is my chance. Pastor Eugene always said, when they lived in the hotel, like, she was very grateful for it, and she cleaned that hotel room, like, spotless. Like, she put all her effort into it, even though it was just a hotel room. And I don't remember word for word, but she was saying before, like, God can't give you something more if you can't even take care of what you have now. So if you have one room, how can you expect God to bless you with an apartment or a house? If you can't take care of your spouse, or if you have kids, how can God expect you to take care of other children, his children, and even though it seems nice to live by yourself, like, I really feel like all of our purpose is like to take people in, that's the whole point. Like, we don't get a big house just to be empty and like, have nothing. Like, that's for people. And like now I'm like realizing, oh wow, it's like really great living with people. Like, I don't know, we've lived alone and it kind of sucks. It seems nice, but it does suck. But yeah. So I started cleaning without anyone asking me. I used to share the kitchen with HD Marissa, cleaning it, but then I would go in the living room and I would dust the floorboards, I would dust the windows, and I would go in the kitchen and go in the little floorboard and get all the little dust. And the stairs with all the little spokes, I'd get a rag and I'd dust every single one of them. I'd go to the loft, I'd clean all that stuff, like, ooh, like, I gotta do this, So now it kind of seems like, like to the people we live with now, like, I feel like sometimes I think I'm like overreacting, or I'm like, they're like, dude, it's just like the floors, or it's just the counter. But I knew what it was like to be lazy. I'm not saying I was lazy, I'm just saying like for myself. Like, I knew what it was like when I was lazy and when I purposely didn't clean because I'm like, it's too hard. It's not too hard. If it's too hard, then you ask God to help you. Like, that's what Pastor told me. He said, pray to God to give you more energy. So I asked God for more energy. So now I clean every week, And, like, I used to have APC make the bed and, oh, well, unload the dishwasher for me. I'll do the hard part and wash them. But the whole point is, like, it's still my job, And I'm fully able. And if I'm not, then I need to ask God to help me because it's my job. So, yeah, then, I worked at Chick-fil-A. So that was a part of that. So Kaiser, $36, $38 an hour. Boom, down to 18, then to 20. Then I went down to like $15 at Chick-fil-A. I had like a whole reverse testimony. Like, everyone comes up here, yeah, I started making 10, then 12, 15, 20. Now I'm at 25. Ooh, I'm at 30. I'm like, so I started there, now I'm at 15, so I don't know. Imagine how embarrassing that was for me to tell my family that. Like, oh, so what are you doing now? You never come to family functions. You're always gone. You always stay at church. Yeah, I work at Chick-fil-A. You work where? And I'm like, Chick-fil-A? So embarrassing. Like, it's not bad, but just to think of where I started and then where I ended up at. So I'm like, dang, I don't even have a testimony. Like, Pastor always says, like, you got to have a testimony. You got to show your fruit. And I'm like, my fruit is not looking good. I started here, went all the way back down here. So, like, I didn't know. I was like, dang, like, what the heck? But I think finally I got it. So I'm like cleaning, and then I'm praying. I didn't want to respect my husband. That's the truth. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to keep fighting. I hated him. I didn't even want to be married. I would tell God, I didn't even ask you for a husband. Like, that's not why I came to this church. But if I'm going to say, oh, I'll do anything for you, God, whatever your will, and then he throws APC at me, and I'm like, that's your will? What? Like, okay. So, just out of obedience, but so I started praying, God, can you help me to want to respect him? Can you help me to want to like him? Like, I really don't like him, and I feel miserable, but if this is your will, like, can you help me want to do these things? Like, can you help me want to listen to pastors? Like, I don't want to do it. And I'm just being honest. Like, I hate this right now. I walked around the block one time, like at our first place. I had nowhere to go. I literally just walked around the block, came right back home. Like, I ain't going nowhere. Everything was under his name. My parent, I had nothing. We had joint account. My car insurance was his car insurance. My car was like under him. I literally had nothing. So what was I gonna do? Where was I gonna go? Nowhere. Like, and I wasn't gonna go back to my parents, even though they would have taken me back. Like, then I'm just gonna be like, oh, yeah, you went to church and you right back. Yep. Like, cause I've done that. I ran away when I was 18, and then disconnected my phone, changed my number. What else I do? Oh, canceled my bank account, switched to another one so my dad couldn't have access to it. Literally, my family had no contact with me at all because I ran away. And then I wasn't happy, so I ran back. They accepted me. Then I ran away. Then I came back. I ran away. So I have this like history. So my dad, when I told him I was moving, he was like, okay, we'll see. So when I was walking around the block, I was like, I can't go back. I can't let my dad say, I told you so. So, so I stayed, of course. Yeah, so finally last year, it was like 3 years into being here and 3 years being married to ABC, we started doing Instacart. And all of a sudden, we just started liking each other. It was like, what kind of testimony is that? Literally, we're doing Instacart. We're like, oh my gosh, like you're kind of cool. Like, wow. We're like all of a sudden getting along. Yeah. Here, you drive, and then I'll do this one, and then I'll drive, and then here, you take care of this, and he's like, oh, here, give me the list, and we're like double teaming Instacart, going hecka fast. I ain't responding no comments because I don't want no like changes. I'm like, nope, I ain't got time for that. I'm about to ruin my numbers. But we were like flowing, and we're like, oh my gosh, like we're so happy, like pushing Instacart. And then that's when I got fired from Chick-fil-A, and then and then he got fired from Zoom. And we're like, la la la, Instacart, I'm so happy, ha ha ha, just got fired, ha ha. We're like, we're like, ha, fired, wonderful, like. And then that's when like pastors say, okay, I think, they say God wants us to have a wedding. And then I'm like, what? Like, I never thought we'd have a wedding. Like, we went to the courthouse when we first got married, and it just was I never imagined it, because number one, we didn't like each other. So then I was like, why would I waste money on a wedding when I don't like him? And so it was just one of those things that we just like brushed under the rug. We're like, whatever, like it's not necessary. We're already married. But then, the little girl in me is like, oh my God, a wedding. I'm like so happy. So, we ended up having the wedding, and then we got the Zoom stuff, all that happened. And then now it's time to move into the house where we're at now. And it took like a year. It was literally like a year since all that stuff, and it was crazy because all my disobedience, but like, as long as you like, what, I did mess up. Like, even pastor used to tell me before, like, a lot of people hear it now. Oh, you have the princess syndrome. I ain't got no princess syndrome. Like, okay, that attitude right there, yeah, I got princess syndrome. I used to have it, you know? And what else did he say? I don't remember. There's a lot. But, you know, like, I was like that. And I have to, like, you know what? They're right. Obviously, nothing's going for me right now. ABC's music stuff, he literally was not going anywhere. He got no revelation. He was struggling with music. He got it taken away from him. And that's me. That was my fault. You know? On the flip side, now when he's doing better, you know, me. But but before, everyone would always, you know, it was hard for him. He was always the one that was the least talented, you know. He always struggled with that because everyone was always better than him. But he always did his reading. He always did his praying. He always did everything pastor said to ask him to do. And even with me, he kept his mouth shut. I mean, not all the time at first, but at some point he stopped talking back to me, and he just let God handle me, which is the scariest thing when pastors can't even do nothing for you anymore, and then you just leave it in God's hand. You get smacked and boils on your arm, and it's terrifying. So we're getting ready to move, and in the middle of all this, we go to a hotel, the one near New Park Mall. This is like our last big fight. Like, he said something, and it really made me upset. And this was the last time I ever hit him. I promise. So he said something, and I remember, like, I had my Yeezy box on the floor, which is an expensive shoe, and, like, you're supposed to take care of the boxes. I literally stepped on it and smashed it, and he was like, look what you did to your shoe box. And I was like, I don't care. So I went to all his Yeezy boxes, and I was like, like smashing all his shoe boxes. And he gets so mad, so he like grabs me. I like swing and punch at him. We're like, and I literally think we're just arguing about moving. Like, can I pack this? No, I'm gonna pack it. And like, it ended up into some big fight where I'm smashing the shoe boxes and smashing mine, punching him. And then I told Pastor, he's like, all right, you can't do that no more. Like, you can't punch him no more. And then I just felt, I was like, yeah, I can't do that no more. Like, that's messed up. So we go to the hotel, waiting for the house. Still have my issues with respecting my husband. And, you know, literally I'll get direct words from God like, you're not respecting your husband, or, oh, we had a dream about this, and it's basically of me not respecting him or treating him wrong. And I'm like, dude, like, what the heck? But then, like, a part of me still doesn't want to do it. So here's another Bible judgment. I literally get attacked by fleas. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, imagine you're in a hotel. It's a brand new hotel. It's the Staybridge. We're just like, oh man, we ain't working. Oof, this is the life. Watching a movie, and I'm like, ow. And I'm like, what was that? And then I see like a little red mark, and I was like, oh my gosh, is that a flea bite? And then I feel it again. I'm like, ah, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, and I see little black dots jumping, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, there's fleas. And I was like freaking out. I got like bug spray. I sprayed the whole hotel room. I sprayed my whole body. And then APC's like, what fleas? I don't see anything. He like checks his legs. There's like nothing. I'll wear long socks, long pants, long sleeve, like hoodie. And then I still get bit. I'm literally getting attacked by fleas. Can you like really think about that? You're trying to watch a movie, and you're literally getting attacked by fleas for like a whole week. So I was like, okay, I can't do that. Whatever I'm doing, I can't do that no more. So that was crazy. But now we're working on it. You know, he's better. I think I'm getting better. You know, we both still have a lot to work on, and Even in this new house, like, I think over all this, what I've learned is when you get corrected, you just gotta take it because pastors see something that you don't see, like, they're not just saying it just like, imagination, I think APR has this issue. Like, no, like, that. Do you really think they're gonna waste their time thinking about what's wrong with you? No, they got better things to do. I don't wanna worry about you. Like, they're not doing it just to do it. Like, they're doing it because they love you, like, oh man, God's showing me this about you. I need to correct you so you could be better, And so even right now, like, people probably think I don't get corrected anymore. I just don't show it. And that's, like, part of being a leader. Like, you get corrected and you can't, Pastor, like, he hurt me. He said I got this wrong with me and I can't do this. Like, I can't go to church and I can't do the booth. No, like, you gotta pick yourself up, change what you gotta change, and over time it just gets better. Like, the last one, so it was Labor Day this year, so September, and the families had, they're providing dinners for whoever was in their household, and what I did was hot links, and it's like, seems innocent, but then you kind of go back. Why did I do hot links? It was easier, it was cheaper, less work for me. Everyone's gonna eat anyway, what's the big deal? But then you got to think of the effort. Like, God gave me favor for his people, not to, like, sit around and lounge around. And I mean, yeah, I'm busy and doing stuff, but, like, it's everything. There's so many aspects. It's not just church, husband, like, you got to do everything, So pastors correct me on that. And they tell me, I can't keep doing the easy way. I got to love people. I got to take care of them. If these were your real kids, how would you treat them? Would you feed them this? This is a special holiday. They all work really hard. This is their day off. You're just gonna make them hot, like, you're gonna do something simple. You're not even gonna spend time with them. Like, that's all you're gonna do. Like, it was the whole idea behind it. And then I started thinking, yeah, I do always complain, like, oh, this is too hard. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so tired. Like, I got so many other things to do, but my household is something to do. Like, I can't neglect them, So I sat in my car in the church parking lot for like hours, and I'm like, okay, like, I used to complain. Even that time too, I think what triggered it was, I was like, APC doesn't know what he wants to eat. And I'm like, why do I have to think of what he wants to eat? Like, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, just tell me what you want, I'll cook it. Like, I don't have a problem cooking. Just tell me what you want. I don't know. And I'm like, dude, like, but it's my job to be creative and create new meals. And, that's just part of the wife's job. We cook, we clean, we take care of the house, take care of the husband, take care of the church people. Like, none of those areas could be neglected. And I can't just keep, oh, ABC, help me with this, help me with this, help me with this. Like, if it's something I absolutely need help with, like, I ask him, but, I'm trying to get into the habit of, if I could do it myself, then I'll do it myself. Because it's like, otherwise, am I just, like, trying to, like, make him do it just out of spite or because I'm just being lazy? Like, no, I'm going to try it first, And so, yeah, I was, like, with him and then the household. So then, Pastor Eugen says, you got to be determined. Like, are you going to be determined or not? Like, are you going to change? Are you going to love your family or are you not? And I was like, dang. I was like, I can't, like, no. Like, I can't lose this family. Like, this is my purpose. This is my calling. I don't care about the music stuff. I don't care about anything else. My calling is to take care of people. So I got to take care of them. And then, so now I make them dinner once a month at least, like a nice special meal. I try to do it Fridays because they all work, and Fridays just seems like, end of the week or whatever. And slowly, now it's November, so September, October. It's been 3 months, and I feel like better. I feel more joy. Like, it's tiring cooking from scratch and making meals, cutting everything, doing everything yourself, especially the cleanup. Cleanup after cooking is like probably harder than the actual cooking part. And I'm sure like a lot of women like despise that part, which I still like, whatever, like, I still do it, like, as long as I still do it, And I just like, oh God, help me be grateful for washing dishes, like, because, sometimes you just don't want to do it. And then, even then with like Sunday dinner, I was like, I want to cook. Like, I want to cook more and do it for the church too. And so they're allowing me to do that. And now I just feel more joy. Like, I'm tired, but there's just so much more joy taking care of the family, making dinner for the church. And, even before I didn't want to make the bed. And then I used to be like, okay, you want to make the bed or you want to go back Chick-fil-A? I'm like, nope, make the bed. I'd be like, fold it. I tell ABC, I was like, oh, leave the bed for me. Don't touch it. Sometimes he'll still do it when I'm like really busy. And I'm all like, no, I'm not going back. Like, can't do that to me. But I know he's just trying to help. But I do like to tell him not to make it, or even if I'm like hecka tired, I'll be kind of angry. I do need to like work on my tone. I'll just be like, all right, leave it in the sink for me. Like, I'll take care of it. I'll wash it. Like, just let me do it. And I just ask God, help me want to make the bed. Help me want to wash the dishes. Help me want to be grateful. Oh, before, like, Pastor used to be like, he says this all the time. People just love darkness. And the truth of the matter was that I love darkness. So I would pray to God, okay, God, I really love darkness. I don't like to listen. I don't want them to tell me what to do. I don't want to dress like a girl, because I used to be a tomboy. And then I don't want to wear makeup. I don't want to do any of these things. And so then I started praying, like, help me not want to love darkness. Like, I didn't want to leave, and that was the truth. So I had to ask God to help me, and he did, Like, I'm not just going to lie to God, oh no, God, I don't love darkness. No, obviously I love darkness. Look how my life's going. And, I'm really, like, thankful for APC now. As hard as it was, like, I'm still happy to be here than where I was before. My life was terrible before church. And even though we struggled through these last 4 years, we've been married 4 years now, been at the church for a little over 4 years. And, I still wouldn't have it any other way. Like, even with my ex-boyfriend, started off fireworks. Oh my gosh, high school sweetheart. We're going to go to we didn't even go to college together, but he went somewhere else and whatever. And then I was like, yeah, where's like the perfect, oh my gosh, And then year after year, dang, I don't like him. Like, I don't want to be with him. And then finally I left, But with APC, it's like rock bottom, hate each other, don't want to look at each other, like literally despise each other. But then year after year, as I'm looking back, it's like, I could be in the room with you. That's fine. Like, this is okay. Like, and then we're like, okay, now we could sit together. Oh, it's fine. I didn't even want to call him anything other than his first name. I called him Christian. And then one day Pastor Eugene was like, maybe you should try to be like more affectionate, call him like honey. And I was like, I don't want to call him honey, what the heck? Like, so I was like, fine, I'll call him babe. And I was like, hi babe. And then just to be like, walk away. I like literally didn't want anything that would like resemble a relationship. But now it's just like normal, we still call each other by our titles at home, but when we're alone, we'll call each other like babe or something, or he calls me Rose. But like before, we couldn't even do that. It was like forced upon me for my good. I remember wanting to like cuss him out during text. And then Pastor Eugene was like, you can't do that. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then she was like, HD Marissa, read her text message before she sends it. But anyways, the point, what I'm like trying to go across to is, even though we had a rocky start and even though we're not perfect right now, it's so important to marry who God has for you. And it's not going to be what you expect it to be in the beginning, you know? Otherwise, how would you know it's from God if you're like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted, perfect. How do you know that's from God? We don't know God's ways, you know? Just, that's why, like, for the men, you pray for God to give you that Proverbs 31 wife, and for the woman, you just pray that God gives you the right husband that he wants for you, and pray that you become that Proverbs 31 wife, because, you know, I wasn't there. I'm still on my road to being there, but that's why we need God, you know? I can't pretend I'm the perfect wife. I'm not. I still have a lot of issues. I still have to fight my flesh. Ugh, I don't want to do this, like, every week, but I'm like, you know what? I can't do that. That's the wrong mentality. Like, even, there's this thing I read every day. This is when I got my last correction. It was about loving people. I literally, since September, I try every morning, sometimes it's at night, I read, Pastor, I don't even remember if he said to read it every day or if he just said to read it, but the way I translated it in my mind was, read this every day. And it was 1 Corinthians 13, you know, everyone knows this verse. So I printed it out. This is my daily reading, and I read this every morning. I read the voice version, which it's not like relevant, but I read it every morning, and ever since then I'm like, okay, Pastor says I need more love. I need more love. Like, I don't have it. So I just keep reading it, and I'm just praying, okay, at some point this is gonna, like, I'm gonna absorb it. This is gonna, so when I get irritated at my husband, it'll be like, love is patient. And I'm like, patient. And I'm like, the 1 Corinthians 13 runs through my head like all day when I get upset, or all the things that love isn't. I start thinking of that. And I'm like, dang, okay, maybe it's starting to finally, like, you know, sink in. And then, like, on the flip side, I have a couple more things that I read every day. I'll just read them real quick. Loving people means it's not about Rose anymore. Not about me. That's not what love is. Love doesn't complain about doing everything, and that's what I used to do. Why do I have to clean? How come he doesn't have to do anything? Why do they get to just hang out and I'm cleaning, you know? And then I have favors so I can help out God's people. Like, none of this is for my own benefit, you know? Everything I have, all the ability, all the talent, that's for God's people, you know? It's not for my own personal gain. And then I think outward instead of inward. So instead of thinking like, how is it going to be easier for me? I think, how can I make this easier for them, like my household? You know, what would make it easier for my husband? Instead of, how can I make this easier for me? And then everyone knows the other verse, Joshua 24:15. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I didn't change it, but I added my notes. I said, as for me, bold underline, me, parentheses, and then my house, we will serve the Lord. So, as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord, yeah. But my house can't serve the Lord until I serve the Lord. So how can I expect them to follow all these things if I'm not? You know, how can I expect them to love people if I'm not loving them? They're just gonna think back to, oh, well, APR treats me this way. I don't gotta treat nobody, you know, this other way. And then I put, no more old way of doing business. You're doing this for God. You're serving God himself. And then this one, I add my notes. Love the Lord your God, parentheses, and other people with all your heart. So even if someone's like annoying or difficult, like, I can't look at them. I gotta love the Lord in them with my heart. Like, I'm not perfect, okay? Like, I still make mistakes, but I'm trying. That's why I read this every day, because I'm like, okay, God, you gotta help me. I don't know what to do, so I'm gonna read this every day until it's planted in my brain. And sometimes I like worry too much, so then I said, it's not your job to worry and plan the future. Smiley face. Relax, heart. Smiley face. So, just one last thing, I'm sorry. I'm not done. So how it's important to marry the person that God has for you. Something that I pray, this is gonna sound crazy, but I pray to God that my husband never chooses me over God. As difficult as it can be sometimes, and as much as sometimes I want his attention, I actually pray that to God. I say, God, I don't want my husband to pick me over you ever, and I don't want to pick him over you ever either. Like, even though I have clinginess and, want his attention, help me not ever get to that point where I would even choose him over you. Like, I can't even imagine, it's hard, but I would rather have all these difficult moments and all these fights than for either one of us to walk away from God. It's so hard sometimes. I'll be on my floor crying, in my closet, or I'll hide on the side of the bed because it's hecka tall and APC can't find me. He'll be looking for me and I just be like this, hiding and crying. But I'll choose this over the perfect husband any day. In reality, he is the perfect husband for me. But I always pray. I always pray that, God, no matter how difficult it gets, I don't want either of us to ever choose each other over you. Whatever happens, I don't want that to happen. I don't want him to ever be like, okay, Rose, let's just go do what you want. No, I'd rather have him yell at me, fight with me, and have all the fights, but still choosing God at the end of the day. Amen. And that's all that matters. Yes, we gotta get better, we gotta do right, but you gotta be the person too, especially the wives, to make that right choice at the critical moments, So maybe we're fighting, maybe we're arguing, maybe life just feels terrible and sucks, but I still have to choose God. It's not easy sometimes, and of course I want my husband to love me, hug me, do all that, but if choosing God meant I never got any of that, I'll take it. If we never had a close relationship, I'll still take it. Because at the end of the day, we got to take care of God's business. It's not about if we love each other on the outside. And, I show my love by doing what God wants me to do. And he shows his love by doing what God wants him to do. And that's the reality of it. So just remember, just be with the person that God wants you to be with. Don't just be so quick to ooh, look at them, No, just pray to God. Is that the one you want for me? He'll answer you. And just pray that, sounds crazy, but pray, that your spouse will never choose you over God. That doesn't mean you're gonna have good stuff happen, but that's the point, But that's where I'm at today. I'm sure I'll have a lot more stuff to talk about later, but amen.